Good day, everyone. Um, got a couple of things to talk about. So, first of all, kind of random, but my friend I was communicating with earlier today uh, sent a message, and she said, I guess she uses this term called Matrix life, and I suppose she's referring to, the Matrix. And when she put the term Matrix life on in the keyboard on her phone, an emoji popped up, and not just one. Um, she placed an emoji above the post as well, so she posted it on Facebook as well. And when she put in Matrix Life, I don't know if you could see that. It's really hard to make out the words, but you can see here is a satellite. So she put in the word Matrix Life. Sorry, I know that's hard to see. And a satellite emoji shows up. And on top of that, the emojis on top here. You see where the moon is? Let's see. Wow. I can't even see anything on here. Oh well. Well, there's a moon emoji that she says that she did not place there. So I just thought that was kind of strange. So she tried to replicate it. And just for giggles, I tried to do it on my phone, and no such satellite showed up at all. And she tried to do it on her phone, and nothing showed up at all. So it just happened one time. So she puts in Matrix Life, and a satellite shows up on her phone. And for some reason, the first thing that comes to mind is Elon Musk because of his current little program up there. Anyway, I haven't been having dreams lately, but my mom has. My mom has been dreaming a lot about her parents, who have since been deceased for the last couple of years now. And the dreams that she would describe are incredibly strange. She would be in these really unusual and peculiar settings. Last night, she told me about a dream in which they were preparing some sort of dress for her, which is somewhat concerning to me, um, because that just are they preparing her for the afterlife? That is that is how I would interpret that dream, just at first glance. But that's not necessarily the case, of course. I have seen my grandparents in dreams a couple of times, and I did share it quite a while back in the archives here. But they haven't showed up in quite a long time, so I think it's really interesting that she's seeing them a lot. They're clearly trying to get through to her from the afterlife and send her some kind of message, so that's pretty interesting. Um, Another thing, this Thursday, we're going to be talking about missing people. Not necessarily so much focus on the missing 411 David Paulides and the strange disappearances in national parks. I'm sure most of you know all about that. There's very large clusters of missing people around the world, especially in national parks. And the largest cluster of missing people in the world is in Yosemite National Park. There's a guy called David Paulides who does investigations into these unusual disappearances. I'm kind of hoping that we're going to focus on a couple of very older and somewhat unknown cases, two of them involving soldiers that were involved in some incredibly bizarre circumstances. And I don't want to talk about it now, but on Thursday, the live stream is going to start this time at 9 p.m. Pacific time, so instead of 10 p.m. And a guy I want to get into, so there's Private Justin Bergwinkle and Colonel Shu. uh, Cardinal Shue, Shue. So uh, there's another case, though. There's another case that really has been bothering me for years, and this one I will talk about briefly right now. So, Mount Shasta is a strange place. I've been there, and I've been all around there too. And the place is heavy. It has a heaviness to it. The energy there is kind of oppressive. I mean, that's how I interpret it. And there's been a lot of strange things happening around Mount Shasta. There was a really great book written by an author from the 19th century by an 18-year-old kid who lived in the area. I still have this book right here in my possession somewhere, and the book is called "A Dweller on Two Planets," and it's incredibly complex and interesting. The type of words used are just out of this world. Like, he was describing technologies that we would be using today, and this was written in the late 1800s. Um, Basically, what happened was is that he kind of unexpectedly and inadvertently started channeling what you would call an ancient Atlantean who lived in Atlantis, and he described the civilization and he described how it was destroyed, and it was incredibly interesting. And he lived in the Mount Shasta area. The book is called A Dweller on Two Planets, and I can't recommend it enough if you want to read it. There was another case in 2011 that happened in Mount Shasta, which is very reminiscent of pod people, right? I guess this is probably the closest case to real pod people that I've encountered, aside from stories of doppelgangers and twins and clones and people seeing perceived clones and things like that. Um, Granted, this came from a very young child, so his story has to be taken with a grain of salt. However, it is believable, and I'll explain why. So in 2011, there was a group of campers that went out to camp around Mount Shasta. They brought their, I guess he was 3 or 4 year old child with them, and they were walking around or whatever with his family. And the father described that as his son was there 1 second, and the next second he was gone. And so a search party came, and they started looking everywhere for the child, and they found him safe and sound. I don't know, I don't remember if it was a couple hours or a couple of days later, but they found him safely amongst some trees out in the forest, with nothing wrong with him whatsoever. And so there was no media frenzy or anything. It was just considered a successful rescue. They took the child. Everything was fine until a few days later. He started talking about his grandma, and he started telling his parents that he likes his real grandma a lot more than he liked the fake grandma that he met in the forest. And so his parents started probing him really hard as to what he was talking about. So, according to the child, when he was lost in the forest, his grandma approached him and took him to a cave. Now, he immediately noticed that there was something off about this grandma. He said that she was sparkling some kind of electrical glow, and he actually called her a robot, of all things. So let that one sink in. Um, and she took him to a cave, and she requested that he defecate on a piece of paper, assuming to get his DNA so that they could probably clone him as well. But there's more. So inside the cave, he said he saw many, many people standing in an upright position, frozen. And he said they also looked like robots. And he said he saw piles of purses and backpacks and all manner of things kind of thrown all over the place inside the cave. Missing people, I suppose. So he refused to defecate on the piece of paper, and she got angry. And the next thing he knew, he was back in the forest where he was rescued. Now, what makes this story more valid is that the actual grandma was camping in the same area just a few days back, and she woke up in the middle of the night outside her tent, and she said she had two painful stings on the back of her neck, and she couldn't explain where they came from. It wasn't a spider bite, it wasn't anything like that. And so she felt off and wrong and didn't feel right for the next few days after that. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. That robot grandma did tell the child that they came from the stars. So interesting stuff. So it kind of makes me wonder if Mount Shasta is a pod person distribution center. Anything's possible. Just that term distribution center immediately comes to mind. I sometimes when I drive east, I drive past this massive Skechers distribution center for the shoe brand, and it doesn't have a T anymore, even though it always did. Just like Febreze always had two E's. So I'd pass by that sign and I would go, huh, it doesn't even look right without the T because it doesn't. So having said that, I'll share the link down below for Thursday's 9 p.m. podcast. Donnie Darko, are we approaching the end of the world? Nah, probably not. Probably not yet. I seriously doubt it. So be it. Oh well. Take it easy.